The AFC North is probably the best division in the NFL, and in today's video I give you my predictions on each of the teams in the division, and most importantly, who I think will win the division. Before I get into my predictions, what do some other people think and what happened in the past? So last year, the Ravens won it going 13-4, then the Browns at 11-6. The Steelers were in third place, still in the playoffs at 10-7, and the Bengals were 9-8, just missed the playoffs. And what does Vegas think will happen this year? Vegas thinks that there's a pretty tight race between two teams, and that is the Ravens and the Bengals. The Ravens are plus 145 to win the North, and the Bengals are plus 165. Then there's a sizable gap with the Cleveland Browns in third place at plus 450, and then finally another big gap in the Steelers at plus 750. And one of these bets I actually think is a good bet to play, and you'll find out with my number 2 team in this division. Starting off with my last place team in the division.
Oh my God, no, don't tell me everything. What? No!
The Cleveland Browns. So I have them going 11-6 and somehow being at last place in this division. Now, I just think this division is loaded. I think it's the best division in football. I think there's a chance they could make history and have all 4 teams make the playoffs. Probably not because of the infighting, but it would not shock me. I think all 4 of these teams are playoff caliber teams. But the Browns, so let's break them down a little bit. Of course, they have an amazing defense. They have potentially the best defense in the NFL. However, the offensive side of the ball is very weak.
We want to tell you the stuff we're not good at.
It's very, very shaky. Last year, it only looked good with Joe Flacco, and guess what? They don't have Joe Flacco this year. They're back to Deshaun Watson. He's back from his injury. He's probably not back from being a bad quarterback yet, though. So most of us do not like Deshaun Watson. But I'm not accounting for that in this prediction. Not as a person, but as a player. He's been very shaky since he went to the Browns. Now, there are some reports that he's looked good in training camp, but, looking good in training camp is not saying a whole lot. So the most important thing for this team, of course, with any team, but especially with the shaky quarterback, is the quarterback. So if Deshaun Watson surprises us and is a really good quarterback, then they could go really far in the playoffs. If he looks how he's looked the past few years, then they're going to struggle. On the Browns offense, they like to focus on their running game. However, Nick Chubb had a brutal injury last year. He's not fully recovered yet, and while he will play most of the season probably, I just don't think he can recover yet. I mean, he's older, and it was a very serious injury. I just don't think he will be the Nick Chubb that we think of. So I think bad quarterback, running game won't be the same. I mean, they have Amari Cooper and Njoku as receiving targets, but they're good, not amazing. So while I do really like this team, and I do actually think they might go 11-6, in my predictions, 11-6 happens to be a 3-way tie, and I have them losing a lot of divisional games, which puts them at last place. If you're liking the video so far, please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting down below on why you agree with everything. But back to the video. Last place might not have been a shock, but third place will be. I have the Baltimore Ravens. That's right, everybody's division winning favorite. But the Baltimore Ravens, I think, will fall off a little bit, not too much. I think they'll be 11-6, just like the Browns, and just like the next team, and be a wild card team. I think the Baltimore Ravens defense and offense will both fall off a little bit. Losing Patrick Queen, I think, is a huge deal for the defense, and even more than that, losing their defensive coordinator will hurt them. I saw just last year with the Eagles how much they fell apart when they lost their defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator. But a coach is so important for the game plan, so important for keeping the team together. Losing them could ruin the team. And while yes, I know you still have your head coach, you still have Harbaugh, but even though you still have Harbaugh, you don't have the guy making the game plan, calling the plays, and doing all of that on the defensive side of the ball, which has been a strength for a long time. And their defense will still probably be decent. Then on the offensive side of the ball, yes, they did bring in Derrick Henry, but they just don't have good wide receivers, and Derrick Henry's really the only running back they seem to have right now. The only proven running back they seem to have right now. So it's essentially, how great is Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews, and that's kind of it. I know they have some other younger wide receivers, but they don't have tier 1. They don't have number 1 wide receivers on the team. They don't have an A.J. Brown or Tyreek Hill. I mean, of course you don't have Tyreek Hill, but you don't have that. You don't have Jamar Chase. So it's essentially betting on Lamar Jackson. And yes, I know he is an excellent regular season quarterback. However, I think when playing against some teams that he's played against a bunch, like the Bills or the Chiefs or divisional teams, they might have him a bit figured out, especially without a plethora of weapons. So due to all of this, I see them falling back a bit, all the way down to 11-6, tied with the Browns and this next team, and I do have them making the playoffs, but not a number 1 seed or anything like that. Then the number 2 team in the division, the final team that is 11-6, this is the team that might surprise some people, and I have that being the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I didn't see this coming.
So yes, Vegas has them being in last by a lot. I think pretty decent bet to bet on them to win. I don't know if they're going to win, but 7.5 to 1, not a bad bet. The Steelers famously, under their head coach, just don't lose. I mean, they lose some, but they don't lose that much. They have a winning record, or 500, his entire career there. Tomlin has been great. But last year, watching the team, and I watched a good bit of the Steelers, but last year watching them, their defense was really good, especially when Watt was on the field. Their offense was terrible. Well, I think they might have fixed that. They fired Canada, so that was a big upside. They brought in Arthur Smith, I'm not so sure on. But even more important, I think they brought in a better quarterback. I think Russell Wilson, as long as he can get healthy, will be a very decent starting quarterback. I think he'll be, average. Top 16 quarterback in the NFL. And that is so much better than Kenny Pickett, who is struggling to keep the number 2 spot on the Eagles roster. In addition, the Steelers brought in several new offensive linemen that look promising. They brought in Patrick Queen from Baltimore, so that's a big upside. And their only big loss they had, I would say, is Deontay Johnson, although they just had to be trusting that Pickens would take it over. So I think the offense is greatly improved. I think the defense will be the exact same. And the Steelers are famous, they're just famous at this point, for beating their division. So I have them going 4-2 in the division, finishing 11-6, but since they're 4-2 in the division, having the tiebreaker over the Ravens and the Browns, therefore being second place in the division. So this just leaves my last team, my first place team, and that is the Cincinnati Bengals.
Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure, everyone?
Joe Burrow, I think, is a top 2, probably top 2 or 3 quarterback in the NFL at this point, especially his combination with Jamar Chase. They're excellent. The only problem has been they keep on getting hurt. So of course this is contingent on Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow remaining healthy for the year. But as long as that happens, their offense is elite, one of the best pairings in the NFL since Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes. Their defense has improved, and I think the team doesn't have any major holes. Now, I don't think they're going to blow out the division. I think they're going 12-5. So that's right. I have these 4 teams going 11-6, 11-6, 11-6, and 12-5. So they're not going to get a 1 seed or anything like that. I do think they're all really good, and they're going to beat each other up a little bit. But just Joe Burrow being the best quarterback in the division, in my opinion, just puts them over the top of the rest. So anyways, what are your thoughts on my rankings? Do you agree with them? Do you disagree with them? Subscribe, stick around for more NFL content, and I'll see you later.